17 points in the third quarter. And the most disrespectful thing happens once again. Stephanie White sabotaging Caitlin Clark for Kelsey Mitchell. Caitlin Clark's got 17 in the third quarter. It's about a minute and a half left. Caitlin Clark gets subbed out the game.
So picture this scenario. Caitlin Clark gets subbed out of the game, but that exact substitution is the very moment this specific game stopped being just another standard Indiana Fever win. Let me paint you a picture of what was happening.
Talk about it. Caitlin Clark put on a show versus the Dallas Wings. 20th career game with 20-plus points and 10-plus assists. No other player in WNBA history has more than 10. No other player in the history got more than 10. What we talk.
So imagine this scenario. Caitlin Clark gets subbed out of the game, but that exact substitution is the very moment this particular game stopped being just another standard Indiana Fever win. Let me paint you a picture of what was happening.
Aaliyah Boston, for all that running your mouth you did talking about Kelsey Mitchell should be MVP, your ass need to get off of podcasting and learn how to go make some damn layups. Go relearn how to make layups. All of y'all. Caitlin Clark had 10 assists blown on missed layups. Kelsey Mitchell missed three layups. That would have been Caitlin Clark assists. Lexi Hall smoked one. Lexi Hall missed the layup so bad it bounced off the backboard and damn near landed at half court. Sophie Cunningham blew one. Michaela Timpson blew about 3. Aaliyah Boston misses Kelsey Mitchell for MVP. Kelsey Mitchell. Kelsey make a layup. Kelsey Mitchell missed 3 layups for assists.
Caitlin Clark had just completely exploded offensively, delivering an absolute masterclass with 17 points in the third quarter alone. And just when she was undeniably the hottest player on the court, the coaching decision came that immediately raised eyebrows across the entire basketball world.
Sports. This Kelsey Mitchell 20-point streak is starting to feel like the Angel Reese double-double streak in Chicago, where we are forcing it to make sure she gets 20. Kelsey Mitchell should not have played the whole second half. She didn't have to play every minute of the second half. Why is Caitlin Clark getting subbed out when she got 17 in the quarter and she's carrying the team, but Kelsey Mitchell is staying in? Because y'all wanted her to get that damn 20 points. Let's be real here. Kelsey Mitchell.
She was unexpectedly pulled out of the game with roughly a minute and a half left in the period. Now I want to be clear here. The question we are asking is not whether Indiana eventually won the game, because, spoiler alert, they absolutely did.
In the show. And Kelsey, the difference that you saw tonight, even with Paige Beckers going to get you 6 rebounds, 5 assists, do this, do. Everybody else that's in the MVP has to do some of everything. Kelsey Mitchell is the only person that gets away with just doing one thing, and that's it. Caitlin Clark, 29 points, 10 assists. All the other MVP candidates, Asia Wilson getting 20-some points, 12 rebounds. Everybody else is doing other stuff. She the only one required just to keep jacking up shots. And she was awful today.
The real question, the one that has everyone talking, is why the player who was completely dictating and controlling the flow of the game was the one coming off the floor at that exact pivotal moment. And I promise you,
she went out of her way. Caitlin Clark could have had 34, 35 points. She went out of her way to not even shoot, not even get her 30, to make sure Kelsey got her 20, because she's not selfish. She's not selfish at all. Let's get into this right here, man.
That coaching decision becomes even more intriguing when you really zoom in and examine exactly what happened around her, along with the context of what was on the line right then and there. And we have got the actual numerical data attached to this performance. And let me tell you, it is absolutely massive.
I'm going to get, let me get into Caitlin Clark was 11 of 18, 2 of 8 from 3. And this is a game she didn't even shoot the 3-point shot well. 29 points, 10 assists, 1 turnover. Y'all love to talk about turnovers when it comes to Caitlin Clark, right? 1 turnover for Caitlin Clark. Kelsey Mitchell, 23 points on 9 of 21 shooting, 1 of 7 from 3. The girl was jacking up shots and hunting that damn 20 points down in that fourth quarter.
According to the deep game breakdown provided in the source, Clark officially recorded the 20th game of her young career with at least 20 points and 10 assists. That is a massive milestone, a mark presented right here as the absolute most in WNBA history, which is mind-blowing on its own.
But y'all forced it. I'm going to keep it real. Aaliyah Boston, 16 and 10. You wasn't that good. I keep it real. You was missing layups left and right. Ty Harris came off the bench 5 of 5 from 3 with 15 points. Michaela Timpson played all right. She just was fumbling the ball. Everybody was missing layups for the Indiana Fever. Paige Beckers dominated Kelsey Mitchell. Dominated her. 29 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds. You see how she did some of everything? Kelsey just does one thing and that's it. And if that ain't working, It's just, that's it. Paige Beckers had a good game. Arike wasn't very good. She did finish with 20 points, but
you have to understand that shiny statistic only reveals part of the larger story. What actually made this specific performance so dramatically different from the rest was how much of the offense she systematically created without ever needing to dominate every single possession herself. She ultimately finished the night with 29 points and 10 assists, all while shooting a ridiculously efficient 11 for 18 from the field. Listen to me, that is not simply volume scoring where a player is just jacking up shots left and right. That is elite, highly efficient scoring seamlessly combined with primary Tier 1 playmaking. And here's where it gets crazy. The deeper you get into the tape of this game, the stranger the official box score actually becomes. Why? Because there were literally several clear opportunities for Clark to pile up even more jaw-dropping assist numbers that simply did not turn into made baskets on the other end. I mean, we are talking about wide-open layups generated for assists, and you missed 3 of them right off the bat. This is exactly where the argument gets so much more complicated and nuanced than just looking at a stat sheet. The source explicitly counts multiple perfectly set up missed layups that absolutely should have become official Caitlin Clark assists. We are talking about prime scoring misses by Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hall, Sophie Cunningham, Aaliyah Boston, and others who had phenomenal looks. Now, we should obviously be careful and measured with the exact number we throw around, because those hypothetical could-have-been assists are not official WNBA statistics. A missed shot is exactly that, a missed shot. But you cannot ignore that the underlying point is still glaringly visible for anyone watching the film. Clark repeatedly, consistently created high-quality opportunities that her teammates just did not convert into points. And that matters so incredibly much because assists are honestly one of the easiest ways to completely misunderstand and misjudge a point guard's actual performance. Think about it. The official box score records the pass only when the resulting shot actually goes through the net. It absolutely does not record or measure the high-quality opportunity that was masterfully created. So, when Clark finishes with 10 official assists, that number is already highly impressive. But the raw film suggests that her actual playmaking burden and sheer offensive creation was exponentially heavier than what the paper tells you. And right now we get to the absolute pivotal part that completely changes the trajectory of this entire conversation. Because while Caitlin Clark was out there generating all this massive offense, a completely different secondary storyline was actively developing right alongside her around Kelsey Mitchell and her ongoing scoring streak. Let's address the narrative head-on. Kelsey Mitchell is not the MVP of this team. But the prevailing claim floating around here is that Mitchell's active 20-point scoring streak began to genuinely feel like something the Indiana coaching staff was actively, deliberately trying to preserve at all costs. Now, I have to be fair. That is an interpretation by viewers, and it is not something we can definitively establish as the coaching staff's absolute proven intention just from watching this one isolated clip alone. But having said that, the rotation pattern they used is 100% fair to analyze and question. Picture the timeline. Clark had literally just scored 17 points in an electric third quarter, yet Mitchell remained on the floor. Clark was the one who came out. Mitchell continued playing her minutes, and because Mitchell critically needed only a few more points to reach yet another 20-point game milestone, the sequence of events naturally and inevitably created widespread speculation about what the team's true priorities were in that moment. There is an incredibly important distinction we need to make here. Wanting a loyal, hardworking player to reach a cool statistical milestone is not automatically a wrong or evil thing to do. Coaches have to manage player minutes and locker room egos for dozens of complicated reasons. And obviously, we do not have VIP access to every single internal decision made on that bench. But you have to admit, when the player who is actively producing the most dominant, unstoppable stretch of basketball gets actively removed from the game while another scorer stays in to hunt shots, viewers are absolutely going to notice that discrepancy. This is especially true when the ultimate outcome of the game is still actively being decided on the floor. And that exact tension brings us directly, unavoidably, into the heart of the MVP debate. When it comes to Caitlin Clark, the strongest, most valid criticism of Kelsey Mitchell in this entire commentary is absolutely not that she cannot score the basketball. Let's be real, she clearly can score at a high level. The real question, the one that actually determines value, is what else she actively contributes to the team when that pure scoring is not consistently falling, like we saw against Dallas. Look at the numbers. Mitchell finished the game with 23 points, but when you look closer, the overall efficiency of that scoring was substantially less impressive than the raw point total suggests. She needed 21 total attempts to get those 9 made shots, and she managed just 1 single make out of 7 total attempts from behind the three-point arc. Meanwhile, look at what was happening on the other side. Clark supplied elite scoring, yes, but she also provided high-level passing, generated critical rebounding opportunities, maintained constant defensive activity, and showcased the rare ability to completely create offensive advantages right off the live dribble. That massive gap in overall impact is exactly the distinction the specific game puts under a giant glaring microscope. It proves that a pure scorer can absolutely have a highly valuable role on a team without necessarily being the most complete, most impactful, or most fundamentally valuable player on the entire roster. Now, those are admittedly very different basketball conversations, but the comparison to Paige Bueckers provides an incredibly useful and relevant lens here, because the source explicitly points out that she finished her own game with a massive 29 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. Whatever you personally think of Bueckers in the grander, league-wide MVP conversation, you have to admit that that specific type of well-rounded stat line perfectly demonstrates the much broader, heavier responsibilities that are strictly expected from a modern league guard in today's game. And Caitlin Clark's phenomenal performance against Dallas was built around exactly that same elite versatility, making her so incredibly unselfish in how she approaches every single possession. So, let's really get into it, because there is another fascinating layer here that almost always gets completely lost when everyone just blindly focuses on the flashy 29 points on the stat sheet. The truth is, Clark apparently had multiple golden opportunities to selfishly chase a 30-point game, or perhaps even more. But instead, she actively chose to continue creating high-percentage looks for her teammates. Now, I want to be objective. That does not mean we can definitively prove she intentionally, knowingly sacrificed a particular personal scoring milestone just to serve Mitchell. But what we absolutely can say with 100% certainty is that the raw game film shows Clark repeatedly, unselfishly feeding her teammates in prime scoring situations while somehow remaining incredibly efficient herself. That exact dynamic is exactly why the assist total matters so incredibly much in the grand scheme of things. Clark fundamentally did not need to dominate the basketball on every single possession in order to completely dominate the entire game. She possessed this brilliant ability to aggressively attack, physically force the opposing defense to panic and react, and then flawlessly turn that defensive reaction into a perfectly placed pass to an open teammate. The end result was a true masterclass performance where her individual scoring number was undeniably spectacular, but her overarching offensive influence on the flow of the game was actually even bigger. I really need you to take a close look at the pure efficiency here, because it is staggering. Clark went a blistering 11 for 18 from the floor, hit 2 of her 8 3-point attempts, easily scored 29 points, and here's the kicker: committed only one single turnover according to the source material. I cannot stress enough how important that last number is, because if you follow the lead, you know that high turnover rates have been one of the most consistent recurring criticisms aggressively attached to Clark's playing style. When the primary criticism of a player is entirely built around their ball security and decision-making, delivering a sparkling one-turnover performance while operating as a massive high-usage offensive creator becomes incredibly meaningful, undeniable evidence in the exact opposite direction. And frankly, there is an even bigger, more glaring contrast to look at here. Mitchell's 23 points came on a highly inefficient 9 for 21 shooting night, which included a really rough 1 for 7 stretch from three-point land. So, the fundamental difference between the two players is not simply that Clark scored more total points. She scored more points far more efficiently while simultaneously producing 10 elite assists for her squad. This right here is exactly why simple box score debates can become so wildly misleading. If you just isolate the raw point totals, the gap between the two players looks relatively small. But once you